It is always a pleasure and endearing to introduce a young entrepreneur. I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming Lubna Ahmad. She is a beautiful young entrepreneur, a freshly minted PhD, all of just 24 years old. Lubna, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about your company and what you do.
Well, Invoy is a medical device company, and we are based out in Chandler, Arizona. And Invoy is focused on introducing a line of breath analyzers that can be used for disease management purposes. And when most people think about breath analysis, they think of the alcohol DUI breathalyzers. There's actually some 200 compounds in human breath that correlate to different disease states. And what we've developed is a handheld device that can be used to monitor a number of those compounds in human breath. And we hope for the device to be something that's affordable and convenient so people can use it in the convenience of their own home.
How did you get this idea?
Well, I don't think that innovation is necessarily a linear process. I don't think that there was a logical set of steps that move forward. I grew up in a family where there was a lot of emphasis on helping people, and with my own life experiences, needles and things like that were just not something that I really liked. And when I started college, I really wanted to be involved in a project that involved either non-invasive treatment options or non-invasive monitoring tools. And I think moving forward from there, the notion of a breath sensor and doing something non-invasively, painlessly, without the use of a blood test or a urine test, was something that had a great level of appeal.
Did your, I'm sure your educational background helps you, but was there a family connection or a friend or in the society, in your close circles, where you saw people suffering and you thought I could come with a better device?
Actually, in my own personal life, when I was a child, I spent several years in and out of a hospital, and during that time period, there were a number of needle point injections, blood tests, all that kind of stuff. And when I moved forward, that was perhaps another reason that I really wanted to help not just myself, but also all the other kids that I saw in the hospital that were there too, all the other patients, to find a solution that would be less painful, less invasive, and equally safe and effective.
You know, you're a perfect role model for aspiring entrepreneurs. I'll tell you why. Because you saw a need and you want to fulfill that need purely for a humanitarian cause. And I was just talking to other people here, and I try to emphasize this point that most entrepreneurs tend to focus on the service and products rather than the money aspect, because if you're passionate about a cause, money will follow. So in your case, I think it's so true. You're trying to achieve, obviously the name and fame, but it'll come eventually. I just want to understand, so that others can learn from you. When you pick up product or a service, what do you think should be the objective or the motive of an entrepreneur before he thinks of big money?
I think the reason in the case of an entrepreneur to be concerned about money is simply because if you take money from other people from an investment perspective, you do owe it to them to help maximize the return on their investment. And so there is that fiduciary duty that you owe to them. However, from a purpose and perspective of the entrepreneur and what drives them, the passion that exists on their part, I believe, is by far the only thing that's going to take them through the challenges that exist on any entrepreneur's particular path. In the case of Invoy, the number of struggles that we've had, the late nights that we've had to work, and doing everything from making the coffee to structuring investment deals to working on technology development to putting in place strategic partnerships, the energy that's required to manage those tasks and to tolerate the level of ambiguity that exists, it really requires that you're doing it for something other than the bottom line.
I have a two-part question. One is, so far, what has been the biggest challenge for you and how you overcame that? And the second part is, what is your, if I say, the dream about your product or company?
Okay, so biggest challenge. Well, I'm 24, and I finished my PhD less than a year ago. So during the time that Invoy was started, moving forward, I was in school in parallel with building a business. And finishing up a PhD, which in and of itself is a subjective degree, and it's a very ambiguous process just in and of itself, and then adding that level of ambiguity on top of nurturing a small business when I didn't have any formal business training beforehand. This was my first job. Dealing with that ambiguity of hiring people, figuring out how to hire people, figuring out how to deal with employees, figuring out how to recruit a team, figuring out how to move forward with investors, manage their expectations. That overall ambiguity was something that was fairly challenging to deal with. I think we've gotten closer. I think there's a really good support structure. You learn after a while that you don't need to do it yourself, and you learn to take advantage of organizations that are out there, of mentors that are out there that are willing to help move things forward. And I think in terms of the dream that's out there for me, I really did get into this for a reason. And making a difference in somebody's life is something that I would really, really like to see happen. I would really hope that at some point a tool that I have in some way contributed to developing can be useful to somebody else in helping them to alleviate some level of pain and suffering. That would make all of the hard work and all the effort totally worth it.
My last question, again a two-part, is personally, do you feel a special challenge as a woman, or do you feel a special advantage as a woman, or a young woman rather?
It really depends on the week. There are definitely times where the support that I have obtained from people is greater because of stuff like that. I think that there are definitely individuals that are out there that truly want to not only foster entrepreneurship in the younger generation, but foster entrepreneurship in female entrepreneurs. There's very clearly that group of individuals that exist. And then there are also individuals that are a little bit more traditional that, and I don't mean this in a negative way, that would prefer to see somebody with a lot more experience and prefer to see a different type of person in my shoes. And regardless of who it is, building a company is all about building relationships. And if there's a particular story that you can tell, and if there's good work that you can do, I really do believe that recruiting the right team and recruiting the right people is entirely doable. And we just have to work a little bit harder to do it, but at the end of the day, it's the passion that keeps you going.
I'm sorry, I must ask you this. We are going through some very troubling times, economically speaking, and we are now in a state, Michigan, which has especially taken a beating. And this conference is happening at an opportune time. You are a participant, you're a speaker. I wanted you to share your experience at the conference.
This was a very, very interesting experience overall for me. I certainly knew that Michigan was struggling economically. What I didn't know, however, was the amount of infrastructure that exists here, and the number of individuals and the number of people that are truly committed to helping foster entrepreneurship. And in this conference, I learned particularly about the bioscience aspects of entrepreneurship that they want to foster in the state. With troubling times always comes opportunity. That statement has been said many, many times before. But picking up the pieces and helping people do things in a different way, there's resources that are always going to exist. Channeling them in the right directions is something that I've seen to really exist out here in Michigan at this event.
Lubna, wishing you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.